Hi, I am Reverend Dr. Namches. In this video, we will introduce CSS. CSS means Cascading Style Sheet. CSS is a language used to format the presentation of HTML in web documents. CSS makes your website user-friendly. CSS makes your website look attractive. Instead of styling your web page within the HTML document, it is preferably to style your website using CSS. CSS also helps you to lay out your web content in a very organized way such that your web pages will be responsive to different screen sizes. It means that your web pages will be responsive to, for example, a desktop screen, a laptop screen, a tablet screen, and a mobile phone screen. CSS is a fundamental skill in web design and web development. So in this video, we will make use of external style sheets, external CSS style sheets. And so we shall create a document .css document. We can either name it anything we like. We can name it stars.starsheet.css. Sorry. We can name it template.css. We can name it index.css, whatever we like. And so we shall continue by creating a root folder on our desktop. And so our root folder, we right click on the desktop, we click on new, and then we click on folder, and then we have a new folder, and then we can call the new folder webx, webx. And so inside the webx root folder, we create some other subfolders. We create this folder, we call it images. So we create another folder, we call this css, and then we create this folder, we call it JS for JavaScript. And so for now, we now create our index file. Our index file is a text document file for now. So we click on text document, and so we create maybe a 4-page website. We create the second text document, we create the third text document, and then we create the fourth text document representing each web page. And so we open the first text document, and then we and so we state the doc type DOCTYPE as small letter HTML, and then we open the HTML tag, and right below it we close the HTML tag. And so at the opening tag of the HTML, we state the language ENG, en. And so we declare the head, the opening head tag, and right under it, we close the head tag, and under the head, we declare the body tag, and then we close the body tag. And so inside the head tag, we declare the UTF-8 character set. You can see meta character set UTF-8. And so I would like you to take note of what I will copy and paste next for the viewport. And so right inside the head tag, we declare the title of the page, title, and then we close the title tag, title. So we want the title of our page to be Excel library automation. So we are trying to design a library automation tool or website, or a library website. So this is Excel library. Let's just call it Excel library. And so right under the title tag, and so we open a tag, inside it, link rel is equals to style sheet, STYLESHEET. We declare the type, is text slash CSS, and then we declare the location href equal to, and so we leave the location for now empty until we create a CSS document. So we go ahead and save this file as index.html. We click File, Save As, and now right inside the index, we type index.html. So you ensure it's at UTF-8, and then you save. And so you go to this place, the root folder of WebEx, and then you can see the index.html file. So you can go ahead and delete this first one that create the first text document that helped you create it. And so right here at the root folder, you see the CSS folder, Cascading Style Sheet. You open it and the folder is empty. So you right click and create a new text document. And so you open it. When you open the new text document, you save it. You click File, you click Save As. So we're going to save it as template. So we're going to save it as template.css, and then we click Save. And so we go ahead and close this. We can actually delete this. So we can see that right inside our root folder, we have our index. And for us to see the template.css, we have to go through CSS folder, and then we see template.css. And so returning back to open our index index.html. We open it with Notepad, and then we now have a location to our template.css. So right at the href, we can now type template.css. But remember, you have to navigate through a folder, and the name of that folder is CSS. So you can see that CSS slash represents a folder. It means I am inside index.html. I'm inside index.html, but I want to have a link to template.css. But before I can do that, I have to navigate through the CSS folder. And so I will quickly click File and I'll save. And so I can equally minimize this, enter into my CSS and open template.css as a notepad as well. So I can open template.css, index.html. I have succeeded in opening both of them as a template, as a notepad. And so a web page inside the body is divided into the header, the main, and the footer. So this is the header, header, and I close the header element, header. And right under the header, we have the main body. I will simply call it the main, MAIN. And right under the main, I will simply open the footer, FOOTER. And this is the closing tag of the footer. So I click File and I save. And so right inside the header, we can next our H1 heading. And so we quickly close the H1 heading, and right in between we type XL library. Okay, we can change it to, I can cut this XL library. I can change this to homepage XL library, and then I click File and I save. So I minimize my folder, and then I go to my root folder, go back to my root folder where I have the index.html. I open with Google Chrome. So I open with Google Chrome. So I have homepage XL library. And so we open our notepad. This is our index.html and our template. .css. So right in our template.css, remember this is the h1, this is the h1 heading, so it becomes our selector. So h1 as our selector, and then a curly black bracket in between. So that's how to write the CSS tag, the CSS. So right, we in between the curly brackets, we write our property font size 20 px, and then color blue. So we click file, we click save, head back to our browser, and then we refresh. So you can see the home page XL library has changed to font size 20 px. We can equally increase it to 30 px. You click file, you click save, you can change the color to red, file, and save. Head back to your browser, and then you refresh. So you can see homepage X library has turned to red. And so we can equally type a paragraph. A paragraph. We open the paragraph tag and close it. Welcome to the XL library. And so we click file and save to the browser. We refresh. That's welcome to the XL library. So we go to the CSS file. You can see this is the HTML. This is the CSS, the HTML, the CSS. We go to the HTML. The selector is P, the curly brackets, enter in between them, and then first of all we can do the color, and we can turn it to blue. And so we click file, we click save, we refresh the browser. So you can see that welcome to the paragraph, welcome to X library, has turned to blue. So we can head back to the, can also add the font size. Font size maybe 24 px, just as we want. So you refresh and you can see it has increased to 24 px font size. And so we can also do a text decoration. Text decoration on the line. Additionally, we can do a text align center. So we click file and save. So we refresh. You can see that welcome to XL library has now been underlined and aligned at the center of the web page. So for now, we have done the basics of CSS. We can quickly talk about CSS comments. CSS comments are used to explain CSS codes. That's just a simple definition or explanation. CSS comments are used to explain CSS codes. So I can add a simple CSS comment here, a single line CSS comment. This is how to add a single line CSS comment, and then I close it. So in between these, I can write increases the font size to 30px. So I can equally come to this and write another CSS code, CSS comments code. So I can copy this. So this can be aligns the text to the center. So I can equally do this, come to this place and write another CSS comment, and this can be changes the paragraph color to blue. So when the CSS comment is more than 2 lines, I can simply so this can be so this is multiple line CSS comments. I can simply type the codes below explains how the paragraphs are styled. Full stop. So you can see that's a multiple line CSS comment, and this is a single line CSS comment. So I'll click file and I'll click save. You would notice that it doesn't appear here because it's just a comment. It doesn't appear here. So I will go over it again. This is a single line CSS comment. This is a single line CSS comment. This is a single line CSS comment. But this is a multiple line CSS comment, as you can see below. And so I can decide to use CSS comments to disable a section of the code. So how do I do that? I can copy the end of this CSS comment. I can cut it, Control X. You can see it's no longer here. I can paste it after this. You can see that everything inside this place is now within this opening CSS comment and the closing CSS comment. So this paragraph CSS code is now a comment. It is no longer a code. It has turned to a comment because it is now within the opening and the closing of the CSS comment. So everything that I highlighted now is now a comment. Therefore, the paragraph will no longer be blue color. The font size will no longer be 24px. It will no longer be underlined, and it will no longer be aligned at the center. So I will click File and Save. I head back to my browser and I refresh. You can see that CSS comments helps me to disable some portions of the code. So I can quickly go back and undo it. I cut this, Control X, and then paste it where it was before. You can see right now that my codes are now free. My CSS codes are now free. So you can see my paragraph code is now free. It's no longer a comment. So I'll click File and Save, head back to my browser, and then I refresh. And so this is just an introduction to CSS cascading style sheet, I would like you to follow my next video on div web content layout using div. So we'll learn how to use div ID and classes to lay out our web content. Thank you so much. In this video, we have learned how to create, like we did in our HTML class, how to create a root folder and how to create subfolders, how to create our index page. Then additionally, we have learned how to create a CSS document or a CSS file in our own. In this case, we named it template.css. We named it template.css, and we inside the subfolder, just as we can see inside the css.template css, we have the template.css as a CSS file. You can see that if you go back a little, you will see that this is CSS folder, and inside it you have the template.css. We also have the images folder, the JS folder, and this is our index.html file. So we can go ahead and delete these three files, leaving us with three subfolders and one HTML file. So this is where we come to an end to this particular introduction to CSS videos. Please remember to click subscribe so you'll know when we upload the CSS div class and the ID video, which will be the next.